Welcome everyone once again to PRIMO NUTMEG, your source for groundbreaking discussions on news, politics, music, movies, sports, and culture, all from the heart of the Nutmeg State. On today's show, I have legendary professional wrestler and WWE Hall of Famer Jake the Snake Roberts. We are going to talk about Jake's wrestling career and find out what he's up to today. And also, if you are a pro wrestling fan, please do check out PRIMO NUTMEG number 5, when I interviewed former WWE World Heavyweight Champion Bob Backlund, as well as PRIMO NUTMEG number 29, when Crispy and I review wrestling from April 13th, 1998, the night that Raw finally overtook Nitro in the ratings during the Monday Night Wars. And also, give a listen to PRIMO NUTMEG number 41, when Crispy and I visit an independent wrestling show in upstate New York. And now, ladies and gentlemen, I give you Jake the Snake Roberts.
Jake Roberts, thank you very much for being on PRIMO NUTMEG. I do appreciate your time today.
No problem.
I have to say, this is an absolute thrill for me. Growing up watching professional wrestling in the late 80s, early 90s, you were a hero of mine, so it's great to have you on. You know, however, before I started watching, you actually had been in wrestling for over a decade. You started wrestling in Mid-South in the 1970s. You had wrestled in Georgia Championship Wrestling, where you were a member of the Legion of Doom, and also in World Class as well. I was just wondering if maybe first you could speak a little bit to what were the biggest influences on you during that time, both in terms of your character and your ring psychology.
I think at that time, I was really going at it, man. I mean, I'd spent several years, going up through the ranks, and I was very fortunate at that time to be around some of the best that ever were, whether it be the Briscoes or in the earlier years, Hiro Matsuda and Bob Sweetan, Buck Robley. Those guys are the ones that molded me into what I became, especially Buck Robley. He was an amazing influence on me. And then, of course, I went out west, out here to lovely British Columbia, and then went to a time with Stu Hart, which was when I really molded my character and said, okay, this is the way I'm going with it. And that lasted for about a year while I was there, and then whenever I went back to Louisiana, I changed gears again, because in Louisiana, you had to be on your game. Mid-South demanded that out of you. It was a great place to run with what you got, and they ran my ass to the ground, man. And I went from there out to Mid-Atlantic, and in Mid-Atlantic, I changed gears again because I just needed to be, man. I was out there with Steamboat, Piper, Sergeant Slaughter. These guys, are just unbelievable. Whether it be, just in the ring with them was just a whole new experience, man. With Wyndham, going to Florida and wrestling Wyndham one-on-one for many a night, and putting in 40, 45 minutes a night. That was my first experience as a heel, and that's when it really exploded for me. It was,
and then from there, you did join the World Wrestling Federation around the time of WrestleMania 2. And you mentioned Ricky Steamboat. I believe he was actually one of the first feuds that you had in the WWF as well. And it was also during this time, or shortly after you joined the company, you were being pushed as a heel. However, from what I've seen and read, it seems like fans actually were cheering you at that time. You had a feud with Macho Man Randy Savage, where he was a baby face, and yet you were getting cheered by the audience. Why do you think that happened?
Well, one thing about the fans, they don't want to be part of illusion, okay? They want to be on the winning side. They want to be with the guy that, is cool and bad and all that stuff. And it didn't matter whether I was getting beat or not. It did not matter. Because in the people's eyes, I was unbeatable. I was unbeatable. I I was all the things to fear that you fear. You know, I mean, the little kids, they loved me because mom and dad would go, oh, that damn snake, I hate that snake. Oh, that crap. Oh, the kids, anytime mom and dad go no, the kid goes yes. That's just the way it is. And, you know, if they believed in the DDT, why not? Because it works, you know. And it was simple, and anybody could do it. So you got all these little
I do have
kids
to say that
doing
probably is one of the best finishers in wrestling. I know that it has become kind of overused since that time, but you know, it's such a direct move. It's such a believable move, and the way that you were able to pull it off, it was really flawless. Where did you pick that up, or when did you decide to make that be your finisher?
I invented that with the guy by the name of the Grappler.
So I do want to ask you a couple more questions about your time in the World Wrestling Federation. Specifically, you know, the biggest match ever, I think, or, you know, the biggest event that happened during your time with the World Wrestling Federation was WrestleMania 3. And you had a match with the Honky Tonk Man, and you were led out to the ring with Alice Cooper. Could you speak a little bit to that match, to that feud, and also what it was like working with Alice Cooper?
With Alice Cooper, it was an absolute childhood dream, man. I mean, when I was growing up, he was the hot thing to be, you know. School's Out for Summer was the #1 song whenever I was graduating from high school. To be on that stage, 93,000, going to the ring, he almost passes out because it's just too much of a rush for him. It was pretty funny because he was sliding down my arm, scratching me, trying to hold on because he didn't want to fall out of that damn ring and go to the floor because it was a long ways down. They put us up on those scissor lifts and shot us up in the air. So that was pretty cool. You know, working with the Honky Tonk Man at the time was okay, but since then he's become a real piece of shit. You know, this guy is
Why do you say that?
Well, he's stealing people's names. You know, he's trying to buy, you know, get the names and own them. And then whenever you try to use your own name, you have to pay him. Seriously. Yeah. Well, he's tried it with too many people now. You know, he's got a few names under his belt. He took there was a masked guy, the Patriot. He owns that name. You know, and what
Really?
he went to the trademark registration people, see. And, you know, if you let it run out, then somebody else can buy it, you know, for $3.50 or whatever. And so now any money that's made by the Patriot, the money goes to him.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Well, he tried that with my name. Can you believe that? Yeah.
The Honky
Yeah,
Tonk
he's got
Man
one.
tried that?
Yeah, that scumbag piece of shit. Yeah, he also bought Jim Duggan. He also got Jim Duggan's name. I hate to be the Honky Tonk Man when Jim Duggan gets hold of his ass. That will not be pretty. And I just ran into him the other day, and all I did was look at him, and the guy has no balls. He simply just ducked his head and held his head down, man, and just sucked up to some girl that was working for him there at the con. You know, I'd seen him in the past dress his son up with a mask and call him the Patriot and cheat the fans out of money, selling them bogus Patriot stuff. And, you know, come on, man. You know, what are you, you know? And, you know, I guess that's what drunks do. I used to be a drunk. I did some dumb shit, but I never did shit that dumb.
You had a lot of different feuds in WWF that I'd love to talk about if we had more time. You know, your feud with Rick Rude was legendary. Your feud with Macho Man Randy Savage.
Any feud I done was legendary. I mean, you go down the list, man. I did a damn good job with all of them, whether it was Bad News Brown, whether it was Earthquake. They were all monumental feuds that took the spotlight at that time. You know, and I enjoyed it. I loved wrestling.
One thing I didn't want to ask you about specifically, though, and I don't know if it might be something that you did enjoy or didn't enjoy, if you found embarrassing or not, but something that I like as a young wrestling fan, and I look back and appreciate its comedic value, was the series of vignettes that you did with the Ultimate Warrior going up to a 2.5 with the Undertaker. Mm-hmm. You know, it was very silly and cartoonish and outlandish. Like, looking back, do you think that was a good good thing? Do you get embarrassed about it, or just what's your impressions on those series?
Well, I thought it was pretty ridiculous and pretty far out there. But my God, everything the Warrior did was pretty far out there. The only thing that bites me in the ass is that I was supposed to wrestle him, for a long period of time. That was going to be my championship run. And then he gets fired at SummerSlam because he demanded $1 million before the show. And
you were supposed to beat him for the belt?
I was going to wrestle him for the belt. I don't know if I was going to beat him or not, but I was supposed to wrestle him for a long run, and that was going to be my big championship push. And he gets fired. So
that's unfortunate.
My thinking is if he's getting fired, they were going to push the belt onto me because as a champion, you would not get fired, just for anything, man. There'd be a reason behind it. So, yeah, it sucks. And that's when
there
I went
are
off
a handful of wrestlers that were so big during that time that's really unfortunate they never got the title. You certainly, I'd say Rowdy Roddy Piper, Scott Hall,
I didn't need the title.
I mean, all of you folks should have had the title, I think.
Yeah, I think Henning would have been a great champion, a really, really great champion. Scott Hall, no. Piper, no. He would not have been a good champion. He'd have been right there with the Bret Harts and the Shawn Michaels, the two worst champions ever. As far as money-wise goes, they drew less than anybody. So, well, that's the way it goes, folks. But now I'm doing comedy and having a blast, and I talk about all this stuff from the comedy tour, and people are loving it. We had an unbelievable show last night in Tacoma. Packed it out, man, and they're raving, just going, they want more, and that's a good thing. I got about 8 or 9, 10 shows I could actually do, and
that's awesome. If I could just ask you maybe 1 or 2 more questions about wrestling, because there's something that I've also always wondered about.
Right.
When you left the World Wrestling Federation, you went to WCW.
Yeah.
And you had a very infamous match there at Halloween Havoc, 92.
Yeah.
The spin the wheel, make the deal match, coal miner's glove match, and it really kind of went down infamously as not being a great match.
No, it was a horrible match.
Storyline. Was that only coal miner's glove match, or was it like a last?
Well, no, it was the thing of Sting. Sting at the time was frustrated. He did not even want to be out there. Here, this guy is getting handfuls of money shoved in his pocket, being paid whether he wrestles or not, so that made him lazy. He was very uncooperative in the ring. He was very uncooperative in the dressing room. He had the attitude of it don't matter, let's just go out there and put our time in. Well, that's not what I've ever been about. My history shows what I can do and what I will do in a match. So he didn't want to do anything out there, so I couldn't do anything with the guy. And then when they chose the coal miner's glove, that just stunk the damn building out. But that was that, and I tried to do the best I could, even with the snake biting me in the face, man, trying to get that damn match over. So, I don't see anybody else going that far.
Jake the Snake Roberts, thank you very much for being on PRIMO NUTMEG. I do appreciate your time.
No problem. Bye-bye.